Shalom, Israel. Shalom, shalom. Yahweh Shem Shabbat Yahweh Shema Yahweh Shem Ashah to my sisters. This is our Isupk Fayetteville Sabbath service. We're going to get this thing started. Al-Bakahan, by Yahweh, by Yasha'Allah.
Shalom, Yahweh Shem Shabbat.
Yahweh Shem Shabbat. Once it comes up. It's right here for us.
Vayasha'Allah to Israel.
Wife going up or down, rise, turn, face to east. We do a Lord's Prayer in Hebrew. Abanau, Shabbat Shemayim, Dash, Ayah, Shakah, Yahweh, Lakka, Zayah, Aisha, Baratasa, Kawak, Ayah, Bashamayim, the thunder now. Come, cow, Yawam, Salat now, Wabati now, Salat now, Wabati now, Abi'ai now, Balasai one, a ball, I was shy now, Ayan, Ayah, Akak, Malakwa, Allah, Para, Aman.
In the English, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it.
Pray for the power. Yahweh, Hashem Yahweh, Thunder now, Akak, Larapah, Kalawah, Akak, Tahar, Amatazarian, Akak, Ahakwim, Amathiam, Akak, Arakawa, Atama'ala, Agarashan, Hashem Yahweh,
Water Amana. In the English, Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh Shai. Please give us the power. Power to heal. All manner of sickness. And all manner of disease. The power to cleanse the lepers. The power to raise the dead. Power against unclean spirits. Cast them out. In the name of Yahweh Shai. Thank you, so be it.
Prayer for the blessing. Rakatha Yahweh. Why Yahweh Shai. Why Maka'ala. Why Alamya. Matazabaya. Alawab Yahana. Ha Alawapia. Hasaranya. Akwatazayoyo. Why Wafia. Yahweh. Hashem Yahweh.
Water Aman. In the English. Bless you, Yahweh. And Yahweh Shai. And Michael. And the angels. Commanding General Yohanan. The generals. The captains. The officers. The troopers. And the sisters. Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh Shai. Thank you, so be it.
Psalms 121 in Hebrew. Aisha,
Ayanya,
Ayanya, Al-Hariam,
Al-Hariam,
Bayan,
Bayan,
Aba'ah,
Aba'ah,
Azariah,
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 Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Aisha,
Shamayam,
Shamayam,
Baratazah, Ayathan,
Ayathan,
Lamawat,
Zalka,
Al-Yanawam, Shamarka,
Ana, Anawam, Wala'ah, Yashan, Shawamar, Yahweh, Shamarka, Yahweh, Zalka, Ayah, Yamyaka, Yawamah, Asamach,
Rock,
Alayallah, Yahweh, Shamarka, Akarai, Athapash, Yahweh, Yashamar, Aba'afka, Wa'alim. In the English, I will lift up mine eyes to the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. Salaki. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore.
Psalm 83. Alahayim.
Alahayim.
Adam Al-Takarash. Al-Tashakwat. Ayahana. Yabika.
Yamawah, Ra'ash,
Al-Makah.
Armuwa,
Sawadat. Wayatha. Ya'atazawah. Atazapanguka.
Arawah,
Akawa. Wakakim. Akawat. Ala'ayah. Shamya Sha'ala. Kaya. Nawataza. Abba. Ayaka. Arya. Yakarathwa. Alahai.
Anawam,
Wayashamai. Al Yamuslaki. Al Bawa'aba. Wahaslaki. Wahari. Wagaria.
Gabal,
Wa'amam.
Walak,
Alashak. Adishabi. Tazawar. Gamashawar. Nalawat. Aman. Ayawa. Zarawat. Wangalawat. Salah. Ashalaham. Madir. Kasasara. Yagyan. Manakal. Kwashwan. Nishadwa. Ayandara. Ayawa.
Aman,
Adama. Shayatamba. Narabawa.
Arab,
Wazaba. Wakazabak.
Wakatazal,
Kainai Samba. Shar. Abara. Mayarash.
Awa,
Ayawa.
Alahaya,
Alahaya.
Shayatamba,
Galgala. Wash. Fire Ash. Ira. Wa'al Kalaba. Dalaat. Ariam. Kathar Basi Arika. Wamasa. Apaka. Abahalam. Ala'ai. Panyaham. Alawan. Wayabakwashu. Shamka. Yahweh. Yabashu. Wayabalawa. Aidai. Wayakapara. Wayadawa. Wayadawa. Hayatha. Shamka. Yahweh.
In the English, keep not thou silence,
Keep not thy
O
silence,
Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
Hold not thy peace,
Hold not thy peace.
and be not still, O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
Salaki. And be not still.
Be not still.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
For lo, thine
Enemies
make a tumult.
make a tumult.
And they that hate thee
And they that hate thee
have lifted up the head.
have lifted up their head.
They have taken crafty
They
counsel
have taken crafty counsel
against thy people.
against thy people.
And consulted
And consulted
against thy hidden ones.
against thy hidden
They
ones.
have said,
They have said,
come and let us cut them off.
come and let us come to
From
all.
being a nation,
From being a nation.
that the name of
The
Yasha'Allah
name of Yahshua
may be no more in
may
remembrance.
be no more in remembrance.
For they have consulted together
They were consulted together
with one consent.
with one consent.
They are confederate against
They
thee.
are confederate against
The
thee.
tabernacles of Edom,
The tabernacles of
and
Edom,
the Ishmaelites,
and the Ishmaelites,
of Moab,
Moab,
and the
the
Hagarenes,
Hagarenes,
Gebal,
Gebal,
and Ammon,
and Ammon,
and Amalek,
and Amalek,
Philistines,
Philistines,
the inhabitants of Tyre,
the inhabitants of Tyre.
Assur also
Assur
is
also
joined with them.
joined with them.
They have hope in the children of Lot.
They have hope in the children of
Salah.
Salah.
Do unto them
Do unto them
as unto the Midianites,
as unto the Midianites,
as to Sisera,
as to Sisera,
as to Jabin,
as to Ben,
at the brook of
the
Kishon,
brook of Kishon,
which perished at Endor.
perished at Endor.
They became as dung for the earth.
They came to dung for the earth.
Make their nobles like Oreb,
They did nobles like the
and
red,
like Ze'er.
like Isaiah.
Yea,
Yea,
all their princes as Zabah,
all the princes as Sabbath,
and as Amunah,
and as Amunah,
who said,
who said,
let us take to
let
ourselves
us take to
the
ourselves
houses of
the
Yahweh
houses of
in
Yahweh
possession.
in possession.
O my power,
Oh my power,
make them like a wheel,
make them like a wheel,
as the stubble before the
as the
wind,
stubble before the
and
wind.
the fire burneth the wood,
Fire burneth the
and as
wood.
the flame setteth the mountains on fire.
Flames set the mountains on
So
fire.
persecute them with thy tempest,
So persecute them with our tempest,
and make them afraid with thy storm.
made them afraid with our storm.
Fill their faces with
Fill
shame,
their faces with shame,
that they may seek thy
that
name.
they may seek
Oh,
thy name.
Yahweh.
Oh Yahweh.
Let them be
Let
confounded
them be confounded.
and troubled forever.
Forever.
Yea,
Yea,
let them be put to
let
shame
them be put to shame
and perish,
and perish.
that men may know
And men may know
that thou,
thou,
whose name alone
name
is
alone,
Yahweh,
is Yahweh,
art the most high
art the most high
over all the earth.
over all the earth.
Sorry. Shy, you see it? Hold that side. Yeah. Slap. All right, good. Shy, you see it? Left off last week. All right, shalom. Left off last week at what was it, Genesis chapter 14, verse 14. We're gonna pick it up here in the Hebrew first, and then read English as per tradition of Sabbath service. You read the 7 verses in Hebrew, and then we read it in English. All right. If you got any questions at home, feel free to type it in the chat. All right, let's get it on. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 14, and verse 14. Slacky. All right, this, yeah. 14 and 14. Yeah, con. Why Shemai, Abaram, Kaya, Ashaba'ah, Akayawa, why walk, Ath, Slakia, Kaliyakawa, Yaladaya, Bayatwa, Shamana, Aishar, Washalash, Maiwath, Wiredapop, I, Dewan, Don, Wayakalak, Alaham, Layala, Awa, Wabaraya, Wayakam, Wayaradapam, I, Kawaba, Aishar, Mashama'al, Lada Mashwak, Slaki, Lada Mashak, 16. Waishab, Ath, Kal, Arakash, Wagam, Ath, Lawat, Akawa, Rawakashwa, Ashiyab, Wagam, Ath, Anashiyam, Wa'ath, Ayam, Wayataza, Malada, Saddam, Lakwathwa, Akuraya, Shawabwa, Makawath, Ath, Kaladama Wa'ath, Amalakayam, Amalakayam, Ashar, Athwa, Al, Amakwa, Shawa, Awa, Amakwa, Amalat, 18. 21, okay. Wamalakaya, Adakwa, Malad, Shalom, Awatazaya, Awa, Lakam, Wayawan, Wayawa, Ka'an, La, Ayalawan, Wayabaraka, Yawa, Wayamar, Barawad, Abaram, La, Alahaya, Wana'a, Shamayam, Warataza, Rabawad, Al, Alahaya, Ashar, Magawan, Arayad, Slaki, Tazarayad, Bayada, Wayathwan, La'an, Maishar, Makal, Wa'amar, Malada, Saddam, Al, Abaram, Than, Laya, Anapach, Ram Kosh, Kuka, Lada. All right, start 14. Go to verse 21.
Okay. Verse 14. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them into Dan. And he
Salakia, I'll just interject real quick with that point. It said that Abram did what?
armed his trained
Start
servants.
14 again.
Come.
14.
And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive,
Right. You got to understand that brotherhood is always the mission. If you Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian, your brother matters. His condition, his plight, whatever he's going with, his issues, his problems, they matter.
Right.
Okay, so keep reading.
come. He armed his trained servants.
He armed his who servants?
His trained servants.
This is a clear cut against Christianity and that doctrine of pacifism. Okay, this is the importance of the Hebrew Academy for the brothers that decide that they want to go into the military structure of the school. This is very, very important. Okay, and even way back then, he had trained servants. What were they trained in? Yakarah.
Right.
You make war with your hands. Okay, it's very, very important, black man, Hispanic man, Native Indian man, that you take on the spirit of warfare. Okay, because you're gonna need it to fight. Because life is war. Continue.
Khan. Born in his own house, 318, and pursued them into Dan. Verse 15. And he divided himself against them, he and his servants, by night, and smote them.
And see, that's heavy because you can't do that without order and structure. All these fake Israelite groups, which are Christians, you don't want to be held accountable to anyone but your own standard. And inside of Abram's house, it was rank and order. Okay, so continue, brother.
Khan. And pursued them into Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus.
We know Damascus is the oldest. It's the oldest capital city. It's the capital of Syria. It's the oldest city in the world, man. Which is pretty heavy. Continue.
Verse 16. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot, and his goods, and the women also, and the people. Verse 17. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and the kings of that were with him at the valley of Shaveh, which is the king's dale. Verse 18. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High Power.
This is heavy. You talk about Melchizedek in the school. The Bible teaches about regeneration, and they say Yahushua was Adam,
Right.
and Melchizedek, and Solomon, and Yahushua, right?
Right.
Am I missing somebody? Isaac, Most High in Christ. Continue, brother.
Khan, verse 19. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High Power, possessor of heaven and earth.
And see, that's crazy. The king recognized, Salakia, the high priest recognized that Abraham, the Most High, was with him. In order for the Most High to be with you, black man, Hispanic man, Native Indian man, you have to be obedient.
All right.
You got to be obedient to keeping these laws, statutes, commandments,
That's
man.
right.
All right, go ahead, brother.
Khan.
Sure.
Verse 20. And blessed be the Most High Power, which have delivered thine enemies into thy hand. And he gave them, Slakia, and he gave him tithes of all.
Gave him what?
Tithes of all.
No, he gave him what he wanted to give him.
Tithes of all.
He gave him the absolute least.
Tithes of all.
We know he gave him tithes of all. That's 10%, and
Right.
probably an offering on top of that. Tithes of all the spoil, all of the first fruits. From that. That's any increase, right? Any
Right.
increase you give to who? To the school. So if you come up on, $10, a dollar of that belongs to the priests and prophets and ISUPK, man. It's commanded during Johanna's money. All right. Continue.
Khan, verse 21. And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, Give me the persons, and take the goods to thyself.
All right, we'll pick it up in verse 22 in the Hebrew. While Mar, Abaram, Al, Malad, Saddam, Aromathua, Yadayah, Al, Yahweh, Al, Alahayan, Quana'ah, Shemaryam, Slaki, Shemayam, Warataza, Makowat, Ya'id, Sharawad, Na'al, Wa'am, Akuka, Makala, Ashar, Lada, Wala'a, Ta'amar, Anaya, Aisharathwa, Ath, Abaram, Bala'adaya, Rakwa, Ashar, Akalayan, Ana I Rayam Wakolak Anashayam Ashar Alakayan Athia Ainar Ashakal Wamamara Yaquaqua Qualaquam 15:1 Akar Adabarayam Ala'a Haya'a Dabara Yahweh Al Abaram Bamakataza Lamar Al Thayara'a Abaram Anakaya Magawa Magan Lada Makarad Arba'a Ma'an Wa'amor Abaram Adanaya Yahweh Ma'a Tatayan Laya Wayanakaya Awalad Ayaraya Waban Mashaqua Bayathwa Wasaki Bayathia Awa'a Damashak Al Alaya Itazar Wayamor Abaram An Laya La'a Lata'a Zara'ai Wana'a Ban Bayathia Wawarash Ath Slakia Athia. All right. Start back at 22. Read down to 3. English.
Verse 22. And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up my hands unto the Most High. The Most High.
Right. So Abraham prayed, right? He gave honor and glory to the Most High Power, right? Continue.
The Most High Power, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take from a thread even to a shoelaket, and that I will not take anything that is thine.
Instead of shoe latchet. What's a shoe latchet in today's terminology? Yeah. Basically, like he wouldn't take a shoestring unless he's given the order from the Most High Power, from this king of Sodom. Okay, and because of what?
Salakia. I will not take it.
Just started shoe latchet.
And that I will not take anything that is thine.
Right.
Lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abram rich.
See, Abraham was a wise man. He understood, the value of being a man of the Lord, standing alone, completely dependent upon the Most High Power to provide. Okay. He didn't want some king to denote that this is the reason why Abraham is rich, because I gave him tithes of this from this spoil or whatever. All right. Keep reading.
Save only that which the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men which have Slakia, which went with me.
Right.
Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their portion.
Right. Which is heavy. It's about brotherhood. That's the mission. Abraham wasn't even considering himself getting rich. He just wanted to make sure that the men were taken care of. Okay. This is the spirit that you have to personify, being in the truth. It's not about you. Stop being so goddamn selfish. All right. Consider someone else for once in your life. Keep reading.
Chapter 15 and verse 1. After these things, the word of the Most High came unto Abram in the vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. And Abram said, Lord power, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless, and the steward of my house is Elzer of Damascus?
Right. So Abraham, he wasn't focused on what the king of Sodom had. He wasn't focused on his riches. He wanted the glory from the Most High power, man. He prayed and asked the Most High, for an heir, for a seed. Keep reading.
Verse 3. And Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir.
And pick up in the verse 4, book of Genesis, chapter 15 and verse 4. Wa'ana'ah Dabar Yahweh Alahayan La'amar La'ah Yayarashad Za'ah Kaya Ashar Yatazah Babayad Awa'ah Yarashad Wayatazah Athwa Ayawatazah Slaki Wayamar Slaki Abata Abat Slaki Na'ah Ashamayama Wasapar Anawaya Bayam Slaki Anawaka Bayam Thawakal Lasapar Atham Wayashar Lawa Ka'ah Yahweh Zara'ai Wa'amar Slaki Wa'amar Bayahawa Wayakashba'a Lawa Tazad Kwa'ah Wa'amar Alayan Anaya Yahweh Ashar Awataza Athwad Ma'awar Kashadayam Latha Lada Ath Rataza Azaath Larashath Wa'amar Adanaya Yahweh Bama'ah Adai Kaya Ayarashanawa Slakin Ayarashna. We're going down to what verse? We're going to 10 at the water, brother. We can pick up at 15. Okay. Verse started at 8. Let's stop at 8. Okay, and 9. Slakin, verse 9. Wa'amar Alayan Kwaka'ah Laya Agala Mashallah Slaki Masha Lashath Wa'izar wa eyes, Mashalatha, wa ayal, Mashalash, wa ta'ar, wa garazal, wa yakuka, lawa, ath, cow, Allah, wa yabatar, it's like wa yabatar, a thumb, wa tawad, wa yatan, ayash, wa tarawa, wa lakura'ath, wa awa, la slaki, wa ath, atazapar, la bathar. All right.
Verse 4. And behold, the word of the Most High came unto him, saying, This shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thy own bowels shall be thine heir.
See, this is heavy. This reinforces, the fact that you are the seed of your father. Okay, and your ethnicity or your nationality doesn't come from your mother. Okay,
Right.
there's no you being mixed with this or mixed with that. If your dad was an African, you a filthy Hamite.
Right.
If your dad was a Chinese man, you a filthy Moabite. You know what I'm saying? If your dad was a so-called Negro, then you are from the tribe of Judah, man. You a Judite. All right. Continue with that.
Verse 5. And he brought him forth abroad and said, Look now toward heaven and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, So shall thy seed be.
And that's a blessing right there for the Most High to tell you to look and number the stars. And this is what your seed will be. So right there in that moment, it Most High showed Abraham that how he was going to bless him, man. Keep reading.
Verse 6. And he believed in the Most High, and he counted it to him for righteousness. Verse 7. And he said unto him, I am the Most High that brought thee out of Ur of the Chaldees to give thee this land to inherit. And he said, Lord power, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it?
And that's heavy, because this verse right here reminds me of when the Most High was talking to Israel in Egypt. The Most High brought us up out of Egypt underneath Pharaoh.
All right.
Same way he brought them from underneath Ur of the Chaldees. Same way he's going to bring us up out of this bondage of America, man. All right. So keep reading.
And he said unto him, Take me an heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these and divided them into the midst, and laid each piece one against another. But the birds divided he not.
And Abram was obedient. Okay, that's key. You have to be obedient to the Most High if you want to be blessed. If you want to, receive His blessings, man. If you want to live, you don't really have a choice.
Right.
All right. Go ahead, brother.
Verse the book of Genesis, chapter 15, verse 11. Why a rod, a ayat, al, apagaya rayam, why a shab, a thumb, abaram, why a haya, a shamash, Ashmash, Labawa, Lata Wadama, Lapala, Al, Abaram, Wana'a, Ayama, Kashaka, Kadala'a, Lapalath, Alaya, Wa'amar, La'abaram, Yada'ai, Thada'ai, Kaya, Gar, Yaha, Zara'ai, Ba'arataza, La'a, Laham, Wa'abarayam, Wa'anawa, Atham, Abarai, Ma'awath, Shana'a, Wagam, Ath, Agawa'an, Slaki, Agawaya, Ashar, Ya'ai Badawa, Da'an, Anakaya, Wa'akaraya, Khan, Wasakana, Yatasa'awa, Barakash, got a wall. Wa'ath, Slaki, Wa'atha, Taba'a, Al, Abathayada, Bashalawam, Thakokar, Bashia Ba'a, Tawaba'a. We're reading down to verse 17. Yeah, we're on 17. Let's see. 15. Verse 16. Wadawa'ar. Rabbi Ya'aya. Yeshabwa. Ana'a. Kaya. La'a. Alam. Awan. Amoraya. Aid. Ana'a. Wayahaya. Ashmash. Ba'a. Walata'a. Haya'a. Wana'a. Thanawa'ar. Ashawan. Walapawad. Ash. Ashar. Ibar. Wara. Agazarayam. Allah. Allah.
Verse 11. And when the fowls came down upon the carcass, Abram drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram. And lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs.
What that sound like? Who that sound like? You know, that's a future prophecy right there. That was a
Right.
part of that covenant. When we talk about the promises, you know, of the covenant, you know, which were given to Abraham. You know, how long is our bondage here in America? You know, this is heavy, man. Keep
Right.
reading.
And shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with a great substance. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age.
Right.
But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not full. Slaki is not yet full. Verse 17. And it came to pass that when the sun went down, and it was dark. Behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces.
Book of Genesis, chapter 15, verse 18. By Awam, Awa'ah, Karath, Yahweh, Ath, Abaram, Barayath, La'amar, Lazara'id, Nathayah, Ath, Aratazah, Azaath, Mana'ar, Matazariam, Id, Ana'ar, Slakia, Ana'ar, Agador, Na'ara, Parath, Ath, Akoinayah, Wa'ath, Akonazayah, Wa'ath, Akodamanayah, Awath, Akathia, Wa'ath, Aparazayah, Wa'ath, Arapa Ayam, Wa'ath, Amarayam, Wa'ath, Akanaina, Slakia, Akanaina, Wa'ath, Agara Gashayawa, Agara Gashewa, Gashaya, Wa'ath, Awaba Yuam, Slakia, Awaba Wasaya, one, Washaraya, Ashath, Abaram, La'ah, Yalada, Lawa, Wala'ah, Shapaka'ah, Matazariath, Washama'ah, Agar. We're going to read down the verse. You want a 3? First, okay. Wathamar, Sharayah, Al, Abaram, Ana'ah, Na'ah, Atazar, Slakia, Atazar Nayah, Yahweh, Aladath, Ba'ah, Na'ah, Al, Shapakath, yeah, Awalaya, Abanah, Mana'ah, Wa'ashamai, Abaram, Lakowa, Shuraya, Wathaquat, Sharaya, Ashath, Abaram, Ath, Agar, Amatazarath, Shapakath, Makwa'ai, Makwatazar, Ashar, Shanayam, Lashabath, Abaram, Baaratazah, Canaan, Wathaan, Atha'ah, La'abaram, Ayasha'ah, Lana, it's like a Lawa, La'awa'ah, Wayaba'ah, Al, Agar, Watha'ar, Wathara'ah, Kaya, Aratha, Wathaqual, Gabaratha, Ba'ayanawa, Ba'anawa. Down to verse. Okay, that was it. How far? I read down too far. Stop at 3. We'll read back up.
In the same day, the Most High made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, unto the great river, the river Euphrates.
That's right. That's from like northeastern Africa all the way down to like Lake Victoria, you know. But we're talking about the promised land here, you know, from the Nile to the Euphrates. You know what I'm saying? That encompasses the Middle East, essentially. You know, that is where the promised land, that's the land that was spoken of. Okay, keep reading.
The Kenites and the Kizites and the Kadamites, verse 20, and the Hittites and the Pezerites and the Rephaims, Salakia, verse 21, and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Gigorites, Girgashites, Salakia, and the Jebusites.
Yeah, all these are heathen nations, man, that occupy those lands. Now, you know, we are Israelites. You know, we are from the seed of Jacob.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? That is another covenant that was made with Jacob. Okay, so we are a total separate people from these people. Okay, I was listening to a class with Captain Natazan. He was talking about that word Hebrew, you know, just meaning from the past. You know, Abraham, when it, you know, the so-called oppressor calls us Hebrew Israelites, that's his way of, you know, pretty much putting all these other heathen nations on us, because we know that Ishmael was from Abraham,
Right.
but he didn't get the promise that Isaac received. Okay, so if you Black, Hispanic, Native Indian, you got to understand there's something special, you know, about you. You are the only true royalty that ever graced the face of this planet. Okay, and it's something important. That's something special. We are a separate holy people. All right, continue.
Now Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children, and she had an handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar.
She was a what?
An handmaid.
Well, she was a who?
Slakia, an Egyptian.
She was an Egyptian, right? And her name was Hagar, right? So now we're going to talk about, you know, how Ishmael came about. Okay, continue.
And Sarai said unto Abram, behold, now the Most High have restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go unto Salakia, go in unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarai.
Right. And see, this is a fault of our people from the beginning, man. You know, from Adam in the garden to Abraham dealing with Sarai. You know, hearkening to the voice of your woman. You have to hearken to the voice of the Most High Power.
Right.
That's where we get our directions from. Okay, as a so-called Black, Hispanic, Native Indian, you have no covering, with the exception of Yahweh Shai and the Most High Power. You know, that's where we get our orders from. That's who we are obedient to. It ain't no checking in with your rear. What you say, don't check up, check down, right?
Right.
All right, continue, brother.
Verse 3. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram, and dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife.
Yeah, read 4 because I already read it in Hebrew. Excellent.
Verse 4. And he went into Hagar and and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes.
Right. So this also speaks volumes about, sex being marriage. And we talk about, them coming together, the joining, they're not twain anymore. They became one flesh, right? Abram and Hagar. And the outcome of that was Ishmael. Okay. But like I said, the blessing wasn't with Ishmael. He was blessed, but he wasn't blessed like Isaac. And that's a different blessing. That's another thing. That's what happens when you come into the ISUPK. You come to the knowledge and understanding of who you are, who we are as a nation of people. Is that it on that?
Okay.
Sorry, Christ.
Book of Genesis, chapter 16 and verse 5. Wata Amar Shoraya Slakia Shoraya Al Abaram Kamasaya Ayayad Anakaya Nathathia Shapakathia Wakwaya Quad Slakia Watara Kaya Aratha Wa'akwal Ba'anaya Ba'ayanaya Yashapat Yahweh Bayanaya Yabayanad Wa'amor Abaram Al Shayai Ana'a Wapakathad Bayada Aishaya La'a Atawab Bayanada Wata Anaya Ya Sharaya Wata Barak Wapanaya Wamataza'a Mala'ad Yahweh Al Ayan Amayam Bama Slaki Bama Debar Al Ayam Badaram Shawa'ar Wa'amar Agar Shapakat Sharaya Aya Maza'a Ba'ath Wa'ana'a Talakaya Watama'ar Maganaya Sharaya Kabarathia Anakaya Barakayath Wa'amar La'a Mala'a Yahweh Shawabaya Al Kabarathia Watanaya Zakath Yada Ya'a Wa'amor La'a Mala'ad Yahweh Arba'a Ath Zara'id Wala'a Isupk Marab
Verse 5. And Sarah said unto Abram, my wrong be upon thee.
She said, what?
My wrong be upon thee.
Damn, that's accountability, man. Was Sarah the first woman ever in history to hold herself accountable for her sin, for the fact that she made a poor decision? And that's a beautiful thing. As a black woman, Hispanic, Native Indian woman, you have to do that. You got to hold yourself accountable. Right is right, wrong is wrong. You know, that's the spirit of brotherhood. Brotherhood is synonymous with what? Sisterhood. And Sarah was a sister unto Abram in this moment. Keep reading.
Khan, I have given my maid into thy bosom. And when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes.
Yeah, Hagar walking around like she was the you know what, the sugar honey iced tea, you know, because she's looking at Sarah like, I got a baby. You don't. You barren. Your womb is empty. But look what I have. Okay. And you can understand that jealousy, that jealous spirit, you know, it was plaguing Abram's household at that point in time. Keep reading.
The Most High judged between me and thee.
That's right. She wanted the Most High to judge between herself and Abram. She didn't want the Most High to punish Abram for going in unto this heathen. Okay. Keep reading.
Khan. But Abram said unto Sarah, behold, thy maid is in thy hand. Do to her as it pleaseth thee. And when Sarah dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face.
Right. That's self-explanatory.
Verse 7. And the angel of the Most High found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way of Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's maid, whence camest thou? And whither wilt thou go? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress, Sarai. And the angel of the Most High said unto her, return to thy mistress and submit thyself under her hands. And the angel of the Most High said unto her, it will multiply thy seed exceedingly, that it shall not be numbered for multitude.
And so you got to understand this, like women do not have seed. They have ovaries, the ovum. The man has the seed and the sperm, okay? The woman just carries the seed of a man, all right? So let's not take things out of context here, all right? You know, right. The only reason why her seed was blessed exceedingly was because it was of Abram,
Right.
okay? And we talked about how, you know, the number of the stars, you know, this is correlating to that. This is the reason why the angel told her that Abram's seed will be blessed. Okay, keep reading. Let's see. It's a lock here. The book of Genesis, chapter 16, verse 11. Waya Amar La'ah Mala'ad Yahweh Anad Ara'ah Wayaladath Ban Wakwarath Shamawa Yashma'al Kaya Shemai Yahweh Al Anayat Wa'awa Yahaya Para'ah Adam Yadawa Bakala Wayad Kal Bawa Allah Panaya Kal Akayawa Yashakal Wathkora'ah Sham Yahweh Adabar Alaya Atha Al Ra'aya Kaya Amara'ah Agam. Oh shoot. Slakia. Where's I at? Slakia. Agam. Alam. Wa'ayathya. Akaraya. Wa'aya. Slakia. Ra'aya. Al. Khan. Quara'a. Laba'ar. Ba'ara. Laquaya. Ra'aya. Ana'a. Bayana. Porach. Wabayan. Barada. Wathalad. Igar. La'abaram. Ban. Wayakora'ah. Abaram. Sham. Banawa. Ishar. Yalada. Igar. Yashma'al. Abaram. Ban. Shamanayam. Shana'ah. Ya'ash. Shanayam. Baladath. Igar. Ath. Yashma'al. La'abaram. 16. We're going to read all the way to verse, I think it's 17. That was it. What are we in? We're 16, right? Oh, go to 17 and 1? That's it. Okay. Waya Aya, Abaram, Ban, Tasha Ayam, Shana'a, Watashai, Shanayam, Waya Ra'ah, Yahweh, Al, Abaram, Wa Amar, Alayawa, Anaya, Al, Sharaya, Athalad, Lapanaya, Wahaya, Slakin, Wahayaha, Tamayam. All right.
Verse 11. And the angel of the Most High said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has heard thy affliction. Verse 12. And he will be a wild man.
Now he'll be a calm man.
A wild man.
Now he'll be a plain man.
A wild man.
The Bible says he will be a wild man. When you think about that term wild, what comes to mind? I think animal-like,
Right.
carnal, not domesticated like Jacob, who was a plain man that dwelt in tents. You think about the spirit on Ishmael, man. They eat with their hands, they walk around barefoot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They're very, very violent, disgusting. You know, when you think about terrorism, we're not thinking about domestic terrorism that we know, you know, from the Klan or from neo-Nazi hate groups. You know, that's one type of terrorism.
Right.
We're thinking 9/11.
Right.
That's the byproduct of a wild man
Right.
being unleashed on the earth. All those suicide bombings. That would take a wild man to destroy himself for the sake of destroying his enemy, man. You know, there's no self-preservation that comes to mind at all. That's a glorious thing to blow yourself up and women and children in addition to your enemy, man. That is a wild man, all right? That's uncultivated, undomesticated, man, not tame. You know, that's Ishmael. And continue with that.
Come. His hand will be against every man.
His hand is against every man, every single man. There is constant conflict over in the Middle East,
Right.
over in those Arab nations, you know. And that's the reason, and that's another reason why our oppressor, you know, with this whole initiative to save the Ukraine, you know, they say, oh, you don't see this type of affliction in a European nation. That's relegated to them heathen nations, the nations of wild men,
Right.
you know. Keep reading.
And two, they say about the heathen names about the so-called oppressor because he's a low-down snake. He does everything sneakily and low down. Ishmael is straight up wild, man. You can look in the desert. He out there with leopards and dune buggies. You know what I'm saying? Doing all kind of craziness, man.
Right.
Scamming and raping women and all kind of garbage, man.
Right.
Living in the mountains, eating, surviving off onions just to blow you up. You know what I'm saying? They are this Bible, you know, shows you the mannerisms of these people, the characteristics of these other nations. You can't deny who's who, man. It's right here in the record book.
That's right.
And every man's hand against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. And she called the name of the Most High and spoke unto her, Thy power seest me. For she said, Have I also here looked after him that seeth me? Wherefore the well was called Bir Lahai Roi. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bare Abram a son, and Abram called his Slakia, and Abram called his son's name, which Hagar bare Ishmael. And Abram was 60 years old when Hagar bare Ishmael to Abram. And
86. 4 score, 24, 60. I think it's 86. Continue.
Come. And when Abram was 90 years old and 9, the Most High appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the almighty power. Walk before me and be thou perfect.
Yeah, which speaks volumes about what we should be doing in 2022.
Right.
The Most High, appeared before Abram and told him to walk before him and be perfect. You got to understand, you walking before the Lord, because the eyes of the Lord are everywhere, man. The eyes of the Lord are everywhere, even upon us in this sinful, wicked kingdom. So you can be perfect.
Right.
And the only way that you're going to obtain or attain perfection is by coming into these classrooms, coming to the ISUPK, put on all black. If you're a sister, come in here, put on your head wrap, put on your skirt, your dress, and close your mouth, man. Come in here so you can learn how to be perfect, okay? And that's through keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, which is not being taught anywhere on the earth outside of the Israelite school of universal practical knowledge under commanding General Yohanan. All right? With that,
Just up here, Amadio.
Like I showed to Israel.